Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Boundary Breakers. Piper's out for today and we're stepping in. My name's Princess
And my name is Lillian.
and we're your co-hosts for today.
So this is Kevin, and on this week on Boundary Breakers, we're joined by a very special guest. His name is Kevin MacKenzie, and he has worn many hats in his lifetime, and he's a relentless motivator. Through his experience running the 2024 Durham federal by-election as a Green Party candidate, serving as an elected school board trustee, and entering the world of entrepreneurship, he has also written the book How to Get Motivated and Stay Motivated. Today, we'll explore his journey, the challenges he faced, and his vision for a better future in Durham.
Now, Kevin, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to Boundary Bakers. This is an awesome experience. I wouldn't say I'm famous, nor am I infamous, but I'm trying. But I've been in sales and customer service all my life, and right from my first part-time job working at a pet store. I'm in Ontario, so it was in Brampton. I worked at a pet store for about 10 years. That really got me excited about serving customers and really helping people solve problems. And if you're going to be good at customer service or good at sales, you better be excellent at helping people solve problems. So I was having those customers when I was 15, 16 years old. They would come in and they would ask for me by name because I helped them solve a problem before, and coming in and saying, what do you recommend? And or if I even try and say, this is something I want to recommend. Hey, Kevin, if I totally trust you, you helped me with this animal, you helped me with this problem, I totally trust you, whatever you think. And so that sort of got my juices flowing with getting excited about sales and customer service and helping people solve problems. So that led me into the same industry, but a different sort of path. And I was in outside sales for the world's largest privately owned manufacturer and distributor of pet supplies. I was there for about 16 years, but at that time, 25 years in the pet industry, I was still fairly young at that point. I thought, oh, there must be something else out there. So I expanded my area, and I went into the janitorial and sanitation area, and then I went into hardware. Went into the tobacco vape industry. I went back into hardware and back into pet as well. And so I've worn many hats, but it's always been a customer focused kind of thing. And being in outside sales, you're on the road sometimes 2 or 3 hours in a drive or longer between customer A and customer B. So it gives you a lot of time to think, and you have to stay extremely motivated. And so driving from point A to point B, and maybe the customer that you just left, maybe there was a problem with something, or they yelled at you because you represent your company, and you're not sometimes just Lillian or Princess. You represent your company when you walk in to see a client or a customer. And so you can't bring that down, and that long drive can't get depressing, and you have to walk in and be on the top of your game when you walk in to see the next customer. So originally I was thinking I wanted to write a book on sales, because I enjoyed sales very much and helping people solve problems. But that slowly turned into, after about 2 or 3 chapters, I thought, I'm really starting to talk a lot about being motivated. And so I thought maybe I should just, change it to a motivational book. But I wanted it something extremely simple for people to understand and to adopt. And so I thought to myself, I want it as simple as 1, 2, 3. And then I thought 123 ways to get motivated. Now, getting motivated is pretty easy. It's staying motivated that's really the hard thing. So that's why it's 123 ways to get motivated and stay motivated. And so I did that back in 2016, and it thankfully hit #1 status on Amazon for a short time. I'll get into how that happened a little bit later. And then that was in 2016, 2018, I decided to, I liked helping people so much that I put my name in for service to my community. And that's with becoming a school board trustee for my area. So I'm in Ontario. There's a municipality called Clarington, and that's east of Oshawa. And so that takes up Curtis and Bowmanville and Orono and Newcastle. And so that there's a community of a few schools and a few thousand students. And so it's I would actually recommend this, but not that you really have any control over it. I was acclaimed on my first run around as becoming a school board trustee, meaning nobody was running against me. So if you're going to put your name in public office, the best thing to do is be acclaimed on your first one, so you can really get accustomed to the role. And then it was the second time around, there were people running against me, so then I actually had to run a campaign and do that sort of thing. So 2018 is when I first became trustee. I was reelected in 2022. They're 4-year terms. So I'm about halfway through my second term, and then I was contacted, or I should say, I contacted the Green Party when our old MP for this particular area, Aaron O'Toole, he was the party leader at one time as well. He stepped down, and so it became a vacant spot. It was vacant for many months, and I put my name forward as a Green Party candidate. And I didn't expect any miracles, let's say, but it was certainly fun to run in this election and meet the leader. And I'll get into that a little bit more as well. And then and so I'm currently the chairperson of the school board. School board's about 36, soon to be 37 schools, and there's about 15,000 students. And I was doing some research because you guys are in BC, correct?
Well, our company is based in BC, but we do have employees all around Canada. So
I
I'm
see.
personally in Alberta.
I see. Okay. So I only did my quick research before the call that the people in BC, the trustees, they get significantly more money than the Ontario trustees. So being a trustee, a school board trustee in Ontario, all trustees get the same amount, and that's $5,900 a year. So you're certainly not in it for the money, and then you get a little bit more for an enrollment fee and for if you're vice chair and chair, but it's certainly nowhere even near what just a base trustee would get, say, in British Columbia. And so when I've done interviews for jobs, if the company is based out of the United States, and I'm talking to them about my role as trustee, I've realized I've had to let them know in advance that trustees in some states in the United States it's a 6-figure salary. So they're asking me, why do you want this job if you're already making 6 figures with this full-time job that you have? No, it's not full-time. It's 5 evenings or so a month, I should say. And it's very, very part-time, but it does when you definitely have to stay focused, and they're long hours. So you finish my full-time job, and then I immediately start on those evenings that we have those meetings into the school board trustee role. That could go as late as 11 o'clock at night. And then the office is an hour away from me. So it's you're getting home at midnight to get up at 5:30 to do it all over again the next day. But I do love it. So that's sort of me in a nutshell. But I'm excited to get into this more.
Wow, that is a lot of hard tasks to handle. I see that there are multiple time management that you have to think about when you're working as well, because you have to go to sleep early, wake up early for your job. So that's really commendable of you to do for your community as well.
Thank you.
So
Yeah,
our
it's very
next question.
inspiring.
Yeah, so inspiring for the
Thank
youth
you.
as well. Yeah. So for our next question is, we're going to ask you about your upbringing and how it shaped you as the individual you are now. So our first question is, because you're so busy and you're running all of these different directions, you have different passions in your life and aspirations. Were you always like this when you were younger, and what influenced you to get involved in the community?
Great question. Thank you. And I really wasn't, to be quite honest with you. I didn't do a lot of really any volunteering when I was, in my youth, high school, into college. In fact, I was very shy in school and in college. And it's I just getting into sales. I remember my first day in sales, in outside sales, I should say. Before my boss came to pick me up and take me in, I was just so nervous going into stores. I already had 10 years of experience in the industry, but just it was a whole new dynamic. And even now when I have to do in June I did a graduation speech in front of a graduating high school. There was maybe just shy of 1,000 people in the auditorium, and I wasn't nervous going up there to speak, but I do get a little nervous if they say, okay, you're going up, you're towards the end, we have to wait 45 minutes. Well, then you start sitting there and you start thinking and this sort of thing. That's when you sort of getting nervous. But if they just walked in and going, you're up in 30 seconds, great, let's go. Because then there's no time to think and you just jump in with both feet and go. Kind of like, if you ever wanted to try like parachuting, the actual jumping out once once they're flying, you're going down to the earth on the parachute. Most people, I'm sure, are not nervous, or at least as nervous as they were, on the runway or in the plane, getting ready to, 2 minutes before jump, and then you're going to feel your heart in your throat. But I guess it's just something that you have to get used to. But even when I became a trustee, it's all about being in the unknown and not knowing what's going to happen. You eventually adapt, and I look forward to when I was in sales, we had this big trade show once a year, and it was very stressful and very lots of pressure and lots of expectations and this sort of thing from your boss. But as much pressure as there was, and as nervous as I was, I actually loved it. So I always would look forward for that time of year, because those 4 or 5 days that we had this trade show somewhere in Ontario, it was something I looked forward to, and the time just went by like that. Even though I had like 16, 18-hour days, the time went very, very quickly. So it's you learn to adapt pretty quickly. But being I guess everything kind of changed. 2016, I think it was. I became Catholic, and that's one of the reasons why I became a school board trustee with the Catholic board, because I just wanted to give back to not only my community but my faith as well. So I do volunteer a little bit at my church. I'm the chairperson of their finance committee. I help out at different events when I can, and that was what led me down the path into, excuse me, as a school board trustee to run. I was trying to figure out exactly what I knew I wanted to do something. I just didn't know what it was. So I was talking to my wife about it, and she said, she'd seen something advertised somewhere that the school board was looking for new trustees, because it was coming up for that time of year to run. And I'm like, okay, let me go check it out. So I went to listen to them talk about it, and I'm like, yeah, this sounds definitely very interesting. I really like being part of helping the kids achieve their goals. That's what a trustee is all about, is about student achievement. And so, I often tell in my speech in June to the high school students that it's almost like I feel like I'm part of their family in a small bit. Call me a little, like that crazy uncle they have, and that always cheering for them in the sidelines and in the back office and that sort of thing, as we direct policy and approve a $200 million budget, or whatever it happens to be. You're always thinking about that one particular student sitting at their desk struggling, like I may have, or any of us did in school. And if there's anything that I can do to help them succeed in their education, and ultimately in their future endeavors, I'm definitely there.
As someone who wants to be a teacher, I really resonate with what you're saying about caring about the students, wanting to see them achieve things. It's really, really resonate with that. So I did want to ask, do you have a connection between your childhood interest and the multifaceted career you have today?
Well, excuse me, I do actually. So I I was working at that pet store. Prior to that, I was, 8, 10 years old that I got the bug for aquarium keeping and the hobby of fish keeping, and it became a huge hobby in the 80s and 90s. It's slowed down a little bit, but you still see a lot of these pet shops and these aquarium stores kicking around, and people are still very actively involved in it. And so that I went to visit my future first job when I was about 12 years old and said, oh, this is an amazing place. And the boss said, maybe one day you could work here. And well, 3 years later, he asked me, would you like to work here? I didn't even have to apply. And yes, absolutely. So that turned into, a part-time job that you have in high school and into times that I was going to college. But, during March break, Christmas break, summer break, during both high school and college, I was working there, sometimes even full-time hours, and just really enjoyed all aspects of it. I was, and working in all different departments, and that sort of transition to looking at seeing the distributors that comes into these stores and sells the different, supplies and those different things. And I thought, well, that would be an interesting job to have. So I simply just asked, are you guys hiring? And they said, actually, we are hiring for a particular area. So I put my resume in and went in for the interview, and it was sort of, I had no idea I would be there for 16 or 17 years, excuse me, but it was an amazing experience. And that sort of set the groundwork for my love of outside field sales. Sometimes I do inside sales as well, and also it is led to some consulting jobs as well. I'm currently consulting for a new pet startup company. Very part-time, a handful of hours a week, just to help them get started and get some connections and that sort of thing. So, little did I know, a little hobby or a little goldfish bowl or a little small aquarium that my mother introduced me to when I was about 8 years old, ballooned into a career in the pet industry, and then just eventually a career in sales. So it, don't set aside or don't brush off, something that's being introduced to you, because you never know what path it will lead you to.
That's awesome to hear that you went from pet industry to a sales representative and everything like that. I have been a sales representative before, and I realized that's very result oriented. So I feel a lot of pressure and expectations to manage all the goals that the company assigns me to. So I realized that it was challenging yet fun to have all these opportunities coming to me throughout time. So going back to you, as someone who grown up in these different type of environments, what challenges have you faced throughout these occupations that you've worked with?
Well, I would have to say the biggest challenge is when I first got into outside sales. I was in my mid-20s, would probably look like I was in my late teens. I already had 10 years experience in the industry. And then I'm walking into a store or business that, maybe it's the manager of the store, he doesn't even own it. He's maybe in his 40s. He's potentially even double my age at the time. And I got a lot of negative feedback from them, and just like, they didn't, what's this guy think he is? And, he's thinks he's a, big wig, or, whatever it is. So I learned very quickly that people like to talk a lot about themselves, and also people like to give sort of free advice. So often I knew the answers to the questions, but I would ask them, and what would you do in my situation? What would you do when this happens? Can you explain how this works? And so all of a sudden they were like, oh, he's asking me for my advice. And so that's why I learned how to really, talk to people and help them not really they were actually solving my problem, and my problem was they weren't getting along with me. So I was trying to sidestep that in sort of a creative way, and eventually I was able to overcome that situation. And I've even had customers, one that comes to mind, that he never, it was his business, he owned the business, he owned 3 locations, 4 locations, but he didn't like talking about his business. He didn't like talking about the industry. He didn't really want to feel like buying. It was almost a chore, even though that would result in selling and him making money. So I found sort of his Achilles heel, and that was to talk about his kids in their sports. And once I realized that was the sort of his kryptonite, let's say, I sort of, went with it. So anytime I would see him, how was so-and-so with his soccer, how so-and-so with the hockey. And, he would talk for 30 minutes, but in that 30 minutes, I would kind of pepper in things either I wanted to tell him, ask him, or propose to him. And so I remember one time I was with my boss at one of those crazy trade shows, and he had a special proposal that he wanted to run by my customer. And he's like, Kevin, I don't know how you deal with this guy every week. He's a disaster. He doesn't want to talk, don't want to talk about this. And so I told him what I discovered. And so he said, okay, I'm going to try that. So that evening, he sat him down and started talking to him about his kids' sports, and then threw in exactly what he wanted to ask or talk about. And he got some big commitment or big order. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he came to me the next day and he said, Kevin, he says, I know, I knew before, but I know definitely now, your customers. You know your customers so much that worked like you wouldn't believe. So it comes down to, really making people feel more comfortable. He wasn't comfortable about, talking 100% about business, or, there's a part of my book that I talk about. If the weather has never changes, nobody would know how to start a conversation. Hot enough for you? Boy, it's pretty cold out. You tired of this humidity? Whatever it happens to be, it's always sort of an opening of a door to start a conversation. If the weather stayed the same, you probably had trouble starting that conversation, or at least some people would. So that's kind of a way of solving both our problems. I was able to listen to him sort of, everybody likes to talk about their kids and their accomplishments, but he was to the extreme. So I let him be able to talk about his accomplishments and his things with his kids. And then I was able to get what I wanted accomplished. And that was a commitment, or, sign a contract, or whatever it happened to be. So.
Those are some very great tips as someone who also works in the customer oriented position. Honestly, you should start using these. And I did want to move into your early adulthood. So what were some of the most advantageous tasks you took on in your early adulthood, and what were your biggest successes?
I would probably have to say it was probably, I was the youngest of 4 kids, and my brother and my sister were adopted. My brother and myself were, natural, if you want to call it, put a title on it. And so I grew up in a very pretty much an easy household. We all got along. There was really no, fighting or anything like that. It was, from stories that I've heard from other people, it was pretty easy that way. We were originally from Montreal. I spent the first 6 months or so in Montreal, and then another, I don't know, 6 or 12 months in Rexdale area, in Ontario. And then we moved to Brampton, where I was there for, 25 plus years, before moving to where I am now. But when I was an adolescent and that, I was a very shy kid, and and my shyness was to my detriment as well. So they don't do it in Ontario anymore. I don't know if any other provinces do it, but and that's to fail a child. So I actually failed grade 7, which I actually failed grade 6, but there was an issue with the teacher, and that my mom said, no, he's going on to grade 7 with all his friends. If he fails grade 7, he fails grade 7, but let's get him out of this situation that I was having in grade 6. So I went on to grade 7, but of course I'd missed too many days in grade 6 to sort of catch up and be on level with the rest of the kids, because I was just so nervous, and because I had anxiety. I was scared of the teacher. I was scared of other kids, of bullies and this sort of thing. So it really affected my grade 6 performance, and so it was sort of then a domino effect into grade 7 because I failed grade 7. But once I got into high school, it was sort of between grade 8 and grade 9 that I sort of had a game plan for myself that, it didn't matter the bully. I was going to stand up for myself and not, sheepishly tuck my tail between my legs and head off the other direction. I was going to stand up for myself and stand up for what I believed in, and that really helped me in grade 9. And then later in grade 9, I got my first job at my first sort of real job. I had a flyer route for 3 years, but who didn't, when I was from 12 to 15. But my first real job at the pet store, and that I was one of my first friends to even have a job. So that kind of helped me sort of be a little bit, boost my confidence and this sort of thing. And it wasn't like a job that, not to put down anybody that was working at, say, McDonald's or any other kind of fast food or mundane kind of job, but working in a pet store, you had to know a lot about different animals, and your advice could, put, you have a customer walk in, we've all worked customer service, and said, I bought this and this is broken, and okay, no problem, I'll get you a new one, no big deal. But when they come in and say, I bought this and I did this, what you told me, and my pet died, my fish died, my hamster died, that comes with a little bit more emotion behind it. And so you really had to be a little bit, I really learned how to be a little bit more diplomatic, and really cared for what the person was saying, that I wasn't treating them that it was important to me. It truly was important to me. And so I think people were, they understood that. And when you tell a customer, in an aquarium store, that these two fish could be two guppies, two fish, they should be okay. Well, two humans should be okay and get along, but sometimes they don't. And so sometimes two fish that are the same species don't get along. So they might come in and say, you told me they'd get along together. No, I told you they should get along together, because you can never, unfortunately, if I had a crystal ball, I would not be working here. So, I can't forecast what exactly is going to happen to, your aquarium, your pet, your lizard, your bird, whatever it happens to be. And therefore, that's why I said it should be okay. So my life in grade, junior high up into high school was really formed by, working with customers and helping them. And that gave me the confidence when you're talking to an adult about adult things, and giving them advice on how to keep their animals safe or better or that sort of thing. And they're coming, a 40 or 50 or 60-year-old person's coming in and asking for 15 or 16-year-old me. No, that's going to boost your confidence. So, I highly recommend the youth out there to get out of their comfort zone and get whatever job that interests them, and for the experience, and to add things to your resume, even if it's for a volunteer position. My son, he'll be 15 years old next month. He just got his first job at a grocery store in our town. He got it back in June. There was I think 1,600 people in the lineup for this job. There was about 80 to 100 positions for this grocery store that was opening, and he stuck in it for almost 6 hours. I think it was over 5 hours. He stood in line and to get interviewed, and got one of the last positions because he was right towards the back, and he persevered. And the store hadn't opened yet. He was doing summer school, and he was doing a 40-hour week at this job to help the store open up. And so he's now establishing those connections, probably lifelong connections, with making new friends and really, he was already very confident, but just in the last month or two of him working there, I've really seen his confidence even grow even more. So for any of the young people out there, you can do it. Start off small if you have to. Go into ask for, even if it's a volunteer position, a co-op position, where you do it through your school, or even helping your younger brothers and sisters or younger people, study or do the different things, or go around the neighborhood with your parent and ask if they need help. It's coming up to fall for raking or shoveling, to sort of be a little bit entrepreneurial, and that looks great on a resume. You're probably going to get some references as well, and it's going to boost that confidence that perhaps you lack.
Wow, that's a lot to take in, and I admire your son's hard work and patience to get through that line for the last position. Because personally, some people wouldn't do that, but that's awesome that he got the job. And I admire that a lot of these aspects of perseverance that you just mentioned, putting a lot of your experiences on your resume so you can find better opportunities to uphold your own career as well. I think that's very cool. So we're going to move into community service and your time as a person that upholds a lot of time and energy with different people. Um, but we also see that you have different sides to you. So you care a lot about your family, but you also care about your jobs. And then I was wondering, how do you personally balance the two of it? And what do you do when one takes more side of you, one takes more of your time and effort? And how can you balance that in a peaceful manner?
A great question. It reminds me of when I first started into outside sales, and I was I'm live east of Toronto right now, but I used to be west of Toronto in Brampton, and so when I first got the job, I was going to as far east as Cornwall, which is a 5-hour drive. So I was having to spend a lot of time on the road, away from the family, and also a lot of time in hotels, being away from home. And at the time we were trying to start our family, and so it was put a lot of added pressure on us there. And then when we finally did have children, I did miss a few birthdays here and there, or birthday parties, or different events, because I was either away for work, or and more recently with being at the board office for meetings. I'm not home for dinner on those days. So sometimes I'll get up in the nice and early. My kids are still sleeping. I'll leave for work. I'll have a fairly average day, but I have to go also to the school board office for a meeting, and then I'm not home until 11. The kids have gone back to bed, and I started early the next day. And so sometimes it's 2 or 3 days before we actually sit down to have to even see them, or to have a meal together. But they realize that what I'm doing is important, especially when it comes to with the school board, and trying to help the community that way. And a lot of people, you talked about yourself being in teaching. A lot of people, even teachers, don't even realize the role of a school board trustee. So, the way I usually explain it to people is, you've got your teachers and your EAs, then you got your vice principal in the school, then you got your principal in the school, and then usually there's a superintendent that oversees, several schools, or at least a couple of schools, as a superintendent. And then they answer to the director of education, and the director of education answers to the board of trustees. Now, as a single trustee, I have zero power whatsoever, but in our board, there's 7 of us, so there's 7 trustees. So as a board of 7 trustees, that's where we have all the power to bring in, change policy, or adopt policy, or approve policy, approve multi-million-dollar budgets, help with various decisions. We are from the Board of Education, the Ontario Education Act. We are advocates for the community, and we act as the community's advocate. In my particular area, there are two of us. There are two trustees for our one area, and we oversee well, we don't oversee the schools, but we're part of that. So if somebody has an issue to say, okay, I want to call the trustee. I'm not happy with whatever problem is having. Maybe their child is being bullied. Maybe they're not happy about the parking on the street. Even, they don't really, a lot of them don't know exactly what we do. If it's parking on the street, I would direct them to, a counselor or the mayor's office. But if it was something to do with inside the classroom, often they just kind of leapfrog over to the trustee right from the classroom. So I'll start with, did you speak to the teacher? The odd time they might even say no. Okay, let's start with the teacher. And yes, I spoke to the teacher. Did you speak to the vice principal or principal? Often it's no, but let's start there. Okay, you did talk to them. Okay, did you speak to the superintendent? And so we don't get involved with, I would never call a teacher. I would never call a principal to get to the bottom of something. I would notify the superintendent. The superintendent would then contact the whoever they need to contact to assist the parent and ultimately assist in the student. We help with, as I mentioned, we help with policy and this sort of thing. So we advocate on the community's behalf, whatever happens to be, very important to the community. If they reach out to me by email or by text, or if I see them at a community event, and if there's the expression, if you see one ant in your kitchen, chances are there's 10, 20 or 100 ants. So it's the same sort of thing with a complaint. So if you hear from one parent about one particular subject, rest assured there's probably more than a handful of parents that feel the same way in most cases. So I take every phone call and every email seriously, and I pass along their concerns or get their questions answered, whether it's somebody else getting back to them or myself getting back to them. I really recommend anybody watching to put their name forward as an elected official in their community, preferably not trustee in this area. I don't want too much competition come the next election. But all seriousness aside, it also looks absolutely fantastic on a resume. Even if you just put your name in and you didn't win, it shows your involvement in the community. And I don't put it down as employment. I put it down as community service because, again, there's that misconception that they think that I'm sort of moonlighting and I have several jobs on the side here. Nothing could be further from the truth. So, I kind of explain it that way, that it's more community service. And, I do get paid an honorarium. I'm not an employee of the board. However, I get paid from the board, through the government. So there's if you ever want to kind of figure out what a trustee makes, it's $5,900 a year, and then you've got what's something called the enrollment fee, and so that depends on the number of students that are in the board. And so it's off the top of my head, I can't remember if it's either $1.75 or $1.85 for each student for the enrollment. You multiply that by the number of students, and then divide that by the number of trustees, and that would be their enrollment fee they get every year. And then the vice chair generally gets a couple of $1,000s more, and then the chairperson gets about $6,000 more. So it's certainly not mind-blowing income, but and at some, in the summer you almost feel guilty because you're still getting paid and you're really not doing a whole lot. There's a little bit of work you have to do, but come September to June, then you're like, wow, I'm doing this for probably less than minimum wage, considering all the the extra work you have to do when you get home to read up on on different policies. And when they send you the agenda, it's not usually just a 3 or 4 page agenda. There's usually dozens and dozens of pages beyond that you have to read and refresh yourself on before attending one of the meetings. But I'm committed to it. I absolutely love it, and it gives me a real sense of accomplishment. And it's something that will live on because I advocated for my area to open up a new school. I worked with my local member of parliament and provincial parliament, I should say. Worked with him and was able to get that school. We had a groundbreaking ceremony in June. Should be open in September 2026, and so my name, along with the other trustees, will be put on a plaque there for years and years and years to come, long after I'm probably done being a trustee, or long after I'm probably dead and buried. My name will still stay there. So it's I do like that aspect of it, and that's why I also wanted to. Now, as a trustee within Ontario, I cannot run for a different area at the same time. So I can't run as a mayor or as a councillor or this sort of thing. What I could run for a member of parliament for as an MP. So that's why I ran in March when they had and it was just sort of something I wanted to cross off my bucket list and say that I accomplished. I was fully prepared, rather, if by some miracle that my name came up. But the area that I live in is typically very progressive conservative. It has been for the last 20 years. So I didn't expect to be, shaking any foundations. But I certainly was, excited to be able to do that, and to be able to meet a member of parliament, the leader, Elizabeth May. She came out to one of my events, and to talk to her. She was so down to earth. I think she's in her early 70s now, and what an amazing woman. And if I, it's, you have a picture in your mind of what somebody was going to be like, and she was totally not like that. And just, call me Elizabeth, and just like very, very down to earth and easy to talk to. And a lot of people that met her at the event that said, I never thought I would vote for Green, but I'm going to vote for Green for not only for you, Kevin, but also for the fact that I just met Elizabeth May, and she couldn't be nicer. So I to go back to what I was saying, I really encourage people to put their name forward in any type of community service, especially for young people that are looking to, to help out their community, to help out their own resume. The last term I worked with, there were two trustees. One was 18, one was 19, and to say that their resume looks very impressive now with having that on there. So I highly recommend it.
Well, thank you so much for that breakdown. As someone who's going into the education field, I do find this quite interesting. Like you said, it really is about the community and the students and loving what you do, and I love to hear it, really. So during your election campaign, you made it very clear that supporting the community was very near and dear to you. So when did the transition to politics start for you, and what was the exact moment that you officially decided to run for the election?
That's an interesting question. So the election was in October. From what I can remember, we took office in middle of December. No, December 1st. It's now middle of November. But I guess it was May of that year that I went, even before that, I started thinking about, do I want to be a counselor, or do I want to run as a counselor, or, or do I even want to do this? But it was sort of in May that my wife said, "Hey, go check out the school board. They're having this information session." And so once I listened to all the ins and outs, and I didn't even know I was getting paid, and it wasn't until I actually started that I found out there was actually a salary. And then I also didn't realize that it wasn't until I was started in December, and it wasn't until July that I realized, hey, I still got paid in the summer. I didn't know that. So it was crazy, the amount, a little bit of information. And I was going through that pyramid of how the school board works. I had no idea. I'm like, oh, here's the list. And so I was looking for my name or trustees, and I'm like, I don't see it on here. Oh my! I had no idea that it was so high up, sort of on the pyramid of the school board. But now it's going into schools is something I absolutely love, having a tour, seeing, hearing about, different projects they're doing at the school, different school trips that they're going on, all that stuff that I saw weeks, months, even a year beforehand at the school board, as I listened, listened to some presentation, and then we had to make a vote. So listening to, and also what I would recommend too, when you're looking at doing this sort of thing, is going to, before you put your name forward, going to one of their meetings, whether it's a board meeting, council meeting, when the mayor's there and they're doing all their, doing their council stuff. Go and listen, go be a participant or a spectator, I should say, not a participant. And that's what I did as well, so that I could really see, and I really understood just how little, at least in my area, little interest there is in this kind of thing, because I was the only one in the audience area for the few times that I visited, and unless we have a presentation, there's never anybody that comes to our unless there's something that's contentious, something that's doing to do with the union or some kind of a vote that a lot of people care about. Then you get some people in the audience area or online, because now we since COVID, we continue to have our Zoom attached to when people want to come and watch. And you might get one or two people on the computer, because that's easy. You just open your laptop and watch. But hardly anybody ever comes to the actual meeting to watch it, and it is quite interesting. And we have to be very much on the ball and make sure that we're not in conflict of interest. If anything is relating to our personal life, we have to excuse ourselves during a vote or even some information. So it's quite interesting to see the dynamic. All the superintendents are all around us, and they're sort of, I don't want to say at our beck and call, but if a trustee has a question about something, they'll ask it to the chairperson. The chairperson will then ask the director of education to answer the question, and then he or she will direct it to the superintendent so that he or she can answer the question. And if you're looking for a report, well, you can't just say, give me that report. You say, this sounds very interesting. I'd like to get more information. I'd like to have a motion to get more information and get this report. Because if you just start firing off in every direction that you want to report, that's you're going to tie up a lot of people's time and attention away from their regular duties. So if it goes through a motion and we all vote on it and it passes, well, then the director will then get that, whether it's through him or her or through the superintendent, they'll get those reports ready for the trustees that ask for them.
All right, that's awesome.
Perfect. So I think something that's really cool is the fact that after everything you've done, you throw being on top of that, becoming an author for a book, the How to Get Motivated and Stay Motivated. I'm just going to share the image for that. And can you share a bit about your book?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. And as I mentioned earlier, it started off as a sales book, but I realized I was talking a lot about staying motivated and getting motivated, staying motivated, and so I wanted it, as I said earlier, I wanted it to be as easy and simple as possible, easy as 1, 2, 3. And so that's why I came up with 123 ways to get motivated and stay motivated. So so there it is there. So some of the things that I started coming up with is just to, there's 123 points, and I won't bore you going through them, but some of the stuff that I was just from experience, and also I used to read a lot of different motivational books, still do. A lot of people look at it's a $30 book. I don't want to spend that much money, but if you get they say everybody has $1 million idea in your if you just put it on paper, if there was an idea that you had, everybody has $1 million idea. This certainly isn't making me $1 million, and I really highly recommend somebody write their own book, write their story. If it's a senior citizen, what a legacy you could leave for your kids and your grandkids by having someone help you write a book. Now being on Amazon, it's anybody can be an author, anybody can be an expert, and and everyone is an expert in their own field. And if you got 40 years of experience in your field, and you're a senior citizen, you can write what you know about, or write about being a grandparent. It doesn't matter how many you sell. You put it on the on Amazon. Now you're an author, and you can print. You can get printed author copies. It doesn't cost you the same price as what you're buying what customers are buying your book for. It's whatever it makes makes whatever it costs to make it. And so, I've always got a handful. I take them to like a job interview and hand it to the person. Often, especially in being in sales, they always ask what motivates you. If you pull out a book you wrote, that's certainly going to earn some brownie points. Assign it, and I got to my new friends at XYZ company, and I autograph it for them, and I generally get a second interview after that. So it's usually pretty impressive. It also looks great on a resume for a young person to write a book. And again, back to the senior citizen that wants to write a book, and then to sign it and give it to all their grandkids and great grandkids and their children. Like, what a legacy to leave for them. That, hey, this is my grandfather's book. He wrote it 10 years ago. He passed 5 years ago. I have it forever. And look, he signed it. That just gives me the warm and fuzzies thinking about something like that. And so yeah, that's one of the reasons why I did it. But again, like, it looks good on the resume, and it looks good as an icebreaker when you're talking to somebody new, or that sort of thing. But also, I lived a lot of these things, whether I learned it from another book and adapted it myself and didn't put my own spin on it, or I just thought of it myself. Like simple. I want to do it like simple stuff, like leaving the past there. Don't look in the rearview mirror. Always look forward. Excuse me. So you're not looking at all the problems that you had behind you. Get up early, see the sunrise every morning. That gives you motivation when you've probably beat half the people on your street getting up, and you've got a 2-hour head start on them on the day. And start those daily habits, whether it's reading for 15 minutes a day, or doing some light exercise 15 minutes a day, or meditating 15 minutes a day. Get into the habit of doing various tasks every day, and to challenge yourself as you go along, and do what scares you. I talked about jumping out of an airplane. Make sure the parachute's on, but do what scares you, because it'll just revigorate you and really help you, and to help someone every day. I talked about helping people solve problems a lot, and that's what I like to do, and that's helping somebody every day. And this one here it hits close to home. It's I call it smile from a mile. And so when I first started dating my wife, I would get out of the car, park down the street, and I would walk along the sidewalk, and just walking along, and in my own thoughts. I'm not in any bad mood. I'm not in a good mood, but not in a bad mood for sure. And then I get up there, and her sister's there, and she's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing. Why?" And she's like, "Whoa, that was a quick change. Like, you look so sad." And like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, everybody, and then if you're in customer service and you're going to visit customers, they could be in their office, and, oh, here comes a salesperson, or, "Oh yeah, there's Kevin. I know him. He's my sales guy." And, "Oh, what happened to him? Did his dog die? Or like, why does he look so sad?" And so I realized that, play some nice happy music, or whatever music you're into, as you're getting into the heading close to your customer who you're going to visit. Get out, and I don't care if you're a mile away from your destination when you're walking. You don't have to look like the Joker from Batman, but have a bit of a smile on your face as you're walking. And that's what I called the smile from a mile. And it's also good for podcasts, radio shows, and the phone. I'm going to give an example right now. So I'm going to block myself right now, and I'm going to say, "Hi, how are you?" Versus, "Hi, how are you?" Now, you couldn't see my smile, but you could hear my smile. So even when you're on the phone, if you talking to a friend or family member, smile when you're on the phone, so they actually think, "Oh, geez, they're not happy to hear me call, or give them a phone call," or something like that. So also have goals and objectives. Everybody, New Year's Eve, or New Year's is coming, I'm going to write my New Year's resolution. I'm going to write my goals for the year. Why are you doing it once a year? You should be writing your goals at least a couple of times a day, at least once a day, write some goals. Now that one person that wrote a goal in January 1st, and now you've got at the end of the year 365 or 700 goals, who wins? Who's more focused? So write your goals either at nighttime or in the morning, or even if you want to do it once in the morning and once towards the evening. That's going to keep you focused on everything from some little personal item to some big project that you've got on the go. That's going to keep you more focused. And time management, a lot of people say time management's for rookies. Nobody can manage time. You don't have a wand to go, I'm going to stop the clock for 30 minutes so I can do whatever. But you can stop scrolling on your phone for 15 minutes a day and gain back almost 5,500 minutes a year. And that's almost 4 days a year. Or stop for 30 minutes and gain over a week. It's like 7.5 days that you gain. So what would you do with an extra week in your year? So would you bring up, make a new hobby, new skill, read more books, write your book? You could do anything. So just, eliminate something bad. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to, scroll Instagram for a little bit, or, TikTok or whatever it is, but you don't have to do it for 2 hours. So eliminate half an hour or something like that every day, and do something, like what I just said about a new hobby, a new skill, write a book, read more books, whatever it is. Introduce yourself to everybody, have yourself a little elevator pitch, and you don't even have to be selling anything, but just introduce yourself, and you make you're never too old to make a new friend. So that's one thing that I always talk about in the book. And then there's the 20-second vacation. So a lot of people, get stressed through the day, or they want to take a nap. A 10-minute nap turns into a 30-minute or 60-minute nap. Take a 20-second vacation. You close your eyes, you think about where you want to be, the beach. You want to be, just in a quiet room. You want to be at the library, wherever you want to be for 20 seconds. And then you have to visualize it. And all of a sudden, you do it with enough practice. Take at least a 20-second vacation every single day. You're gonna be more invigorated and get a little bit more energy. And also never be. I always find being early is key. You should always be early, but 10 minutes early is even too late. So be early, show up early, show that you're ready to commit, whatever it is, whether it's a sports thing you signed up for, some sort of event, school, work, whatever it is. I used to work with a lot of people that come rolling in. You look at the clock and it just goes click, and then you see the person walk in the door. Like, you're not ready to work right this second. Like, you should have come in 10 minutes early, and really get yourself in the mindset and get yourself ready to work. I also talked about the weather before, about, if, change the subject, come up with some other things to start a conversation with, rather than it was cold today, or, it's going to be a hot one tomorrow. You got to come up with some different conversations to start those conversations, to break the ice. Try getting in the uncomfortable zone of talking to people in an elevator. Everybody either looks down or they look at the numbers. Break out of that and say, how are you today? You doing good? It'll make you feel good. How about complimenting somebody? I really like this guy on TikTok. I wish I could remember his name. He stops people in cars and throws out a random compliment, and they're thrown back going, "Oh my God, thank you so much," or "You're awesome." Try doing that every now and again, and to someone about, just, something that looks nice on them, or something that they've done, or something you saw them do, or whatever it happens to be. And always be grateful. Always, obviously, keep saying thank you, and just have that aura of gratification. There's on the movie The Secret, they talked about having gratitude rock. And I carry a couple small little gratitude rocks. If they were within an arm reach, I would have grabbed it right now. But there's just little rocks that I keep in my pocket. And so whenever I put my hands in my pocket to grab my change, my keys, my wallet, my phone, I can feel those rocks in there. And they're nice little smooth pebbles. They're not, sticking out like a sore thumb or really huge. They're really tiny. And I always keep them with me. And it makes me, because I got 2 kids, so I'm double with gratitude. So I have 2 gratitude rocks in my pocket at all times. And just go out and try these things. Go out on my book, how to get motivated is the first step, but staying motivated is the bigger step. So get out there, get motivated, stay motivated, and continue to read books on motivation, whether it's my book or someone else's book. You don't just read it once; you continuously read it until you get to another book, and then you continuously read that one and go back after a year or two to read it again. Highlight the spots that really resonate with you. I mentioned before, people are worried about buying $30 or $40, which my book is not anywhere near $30 or $40, but they're worried about buying $30, $40 motivational book. What if it doesn't help me? If you can find one sentence in there that piques your curiosity, piques your interest, or gets a light to shine on you, and or light you up underneath you and get you moving, that's worth $40 to me. So don't look at every chapter, every page to inspire you. Even a bad book can leave you with something positive in your life, but just don't think of it as a bad book. Say, hey, that book there, I got this one thing that I always take with me, and that's this. So that's my sorry, I'm running on a little bit about about the motivational book, but it's very, very, it was important to me, and I like to see when people get motivated.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Honestly, I love all these tips. I'm looking forward to learning the other 122. And I especially love the gratitude rocks. It's something so easy that you can just incorporate into your life. And
Mhm.
even just a little pebble, like you said, doesn't have
Yep.
to stick out. It'll just remind you to be grateful. So
Mhm.
yeah, for the audience watching, this is a book. Photos on here. It's on Amazon.
So next we're going to move into our fun activity. It's going to be a game, and Princess will pull it up right now. Because you've done so much in life, we're gonna do a little presentation of a fun activity that we can do in these little slideshows. Let's move on to the rules. It's called Hats Off to Kevin, so it's based off on you. So we're gonna play. So our gameplay is the goal of Hats Off to Kevin is to guess the different roles or career milestones of Kevin MacKenzie based on the hats shown in the slideshow. Each hat represents a unique aspect of Kevin's multifaceted career, and after each guess, Kevin will share a story or insight related to that role, and it can be just 1 to 2 sentences and why did you stick with it for such a long time? And we're gonna begin right now in the next slide. Princess.
Perfect. Are you ready to play?
Sure.
Perfect. This is the first one. Yeah, the second.
Just give the screen a second. Okay, there we go.
Guy who wears many hats. This is the first hat.
So my screen is really tiny. Is that a like a French beret,
Yes.
like with the sort of maybe even the green berets might wear, but that's black. That one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So because I said green beret, I thought about army and combat and that. And so we go through many fights and battles in our lifetime. Yeah, you just got to make sure you win the war, and that's the war on life. You might lose a few battles here and there, but I'm confident everybody watching will win the war.
That's a really good take on it. To stay motivated and always win that fight. Another thing that we thought this hat could count for would be for an author, which relates to the whole motivation aspect. Ready for the next hat?
Yep.
Perfect. Hat number 2.
Top hat. So I kind of think of like either a magician or some sort of a performer, pulling a rabbit out of their hat or that sort of thing. Yeah, that would Well, being in sales, you have to be very engaging and you have to be somewhat entertaining. No one's going to buy what you're trying to sell if you're not enthusiastic about it, if you don't believe in it, if you don't think it can help that particular customer. So you're putting on a bit of a show and a bit of a song and dance, and trying to help the customer succeed. So I would have to say, sort of a job related role when I see that.
No, definitely. You always putting on a show for customer service. This one can also relate back to how you had to run for school trustee
Hmm.
and you're running for the Green Party
Hmm.
next time.
Yeah, so I think of as being a school board trustee that helping the kids get to that very moment where they wear their hat, and seeing them at the graduation when they move it from, I can't remember if they're moving it from left to right or right to left, but they move it over to the other side, and then they take it off, and then all the parents are ready there with their cameras as they throw it up in the air. So I all the things that I've done, at least in the last 6 years, have led. The ultimate goal is for the success and the achievement for the students to get to that particular moment.
Exactly. And just, since you're a school trustee board member, just getting them to that point of graduation and moving on to the next step in life. And we have one last hat for you.
Yes, I've been wearing that a little bit more lately because I'm a little. Normally, my previous jobs I've worked in outside sales where I'm on the road 100% of the time, but now more so I'm in doing inside sales. So I'm having to wear a headset or wear a Bluetooth microphone or something while I'm talking to customers and making calls throughout the day. I did it a little bit when I was in outside sales, but I relied more on in-person visits and face-to-face as opposed to a lot of phone calls. But more recently, I've been doing a lot of phone calls, so that resonates with my current role.
Yes, exactly. So sales, phoning, and also relating to motivational speaking.
Mhm.
And that's all we have. Thank you so much for playing our little game.
My pleasure.
Okay, and just get rid of some stuff here. Well, I think that's everything for today. Did you have any last comments you'd like to leave our audience with?
Well, it's been a wonderful time joining you here on Boundary Breakers, and I hope everybody heads over to X, Twitter, to follow me at Kevin A. MacKenzie, and that way, if you have anybody that's in business that has either an up and coming pet store, pet company, or a consumer packaged goods company, which is pretty much like anything that you would buy in a store, that'd be considered consumer packaged goods. If they're looking for help, or if they're looking for a sales manager or something like that, I'm always open for opportunities, always looking to help people. So you can find me there.
Awesome. So I'm just going to leave it to our audience. If they have any questions for us, I'm just going to look at the comments. And if they don't, we just have two more questions left. And give it 1 second for anyone to ask any inquiries they want to hear from you. Okay, it looks like nobody has any, but it's okay. Maybe everything has been answered. What is a piece of lasting advice that you want to give to the audience for our parting?
Well, I would say never give up on yourself or on anybody else. So you always want to help someone every day. If if you see rather somebody or hear of somebody that needs some help, could be something as simple as opening a door with somebody with packages in their hand, or not even any packages in their hand, or asking somebody how they're doing. And anytime that you can put a little bit of a smile on someone's face or help them out, that's always a good day. So I would encourage people to do more of that.
Perfect. And the final question we have for you, who is someone in your experience and your network that you think would be a great asset to have on our show? Anyone you would like to refer or anything?
Off the top of my head, I'm going to have to really think of that because I can't think of anybody, right off the top. But I'm going to put some thought into that, and I'm going to send you an email after this.
Well, thank you so much. That's everything for our episode of Boundary Breakers. We loved having you here. Thank
Thank you.
you.
It's been great.
All right. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye. We'll